Open your eyes, what can you see around? Wind of the open sky, over the siren sound. This is a dream, getting the royal scar, holding a diamond blade, throwing it far. Holding your breath still, you jump the fire. We'll just sit and wait till you see me fly. You know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it, then try to tell me you got the wrong guy. See me fly, you know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it, then try to tell me you got the wrong guy.
Hello, gorgeous people. I'm so excited to be joining you today. I am excited. I'm also actually a little bit tired, to be totally honest. But I want to talk to you today about frustration. And this is something that's been kind of coming up on my radar a little bit more and more in the last week or so. And particularly in the spiritual community, I keep seeing things where people are frustrated with other people and they're saying, you shouldn't be like this, you should be more healed, you should be more understanding. And what I think is really important for us all to have the awareness of is that we can only, first of all, we have our own biases and expectations about what a certain kind of person should be like, but that doesn't make it true, right? You can think about like Christians. There's Christians that are the most beautiful, giving, loving people, and then there's Christians that are like absolute monsters that go around committing atrocities. So the fact that someone identifies as a Christian isn't really a defining characteristic about any kind of set of morals or ethical codes that they're going to stand for. And the same thing is with for spirituality and basically anything else. So our expectation of what we think someone else is going to be isn't really something that's going to hold. It's just our own expectation. But the other piece that I think is more important is to realize that nobody is experiencing anything in its purity. We're all experiencing things through the lens of who we are, through the lens of the level of awareness and just who we are. So when someone experiences spirituality, for example, they're experiencing it through themselves, through who they are. And what I mean by that is, if someone's in a form of escapism or idealism or disassociation, then they're experiencing that thing through that lens. And so you just can't expect that everybody is going to be so what this thing is supposed to be. And the reason that this is so important is that frustration is an emotion that really, really deeply saps away our power. It's one of the easiest and fastest ways to create the kind of internal resistance that will create so much external resistance in our lives. And so when we are having this experience of, well, I'm looking at this thing and this person isn't the way that I want them to be, and they should be like this and they should be like that, I can literally feel this in my heart as I tap into it. We are creating frustration, and that frustration is it's going to hold us back. It's going to slow us down. It's going to create deactivation. It's going to create misalignment. And it's ultimately not going to help us move further towards anything that we desire. And we can see this. And I talked about this in my masterclass yesterday, the Who You Be masterclass, which is still available for free if you want to jump in. The link is in my bio. But um, I totally just lost my train of thought. Shameless promo into what am I talking about? You can you get to experience everything the way that you want to experience it. So you don't have to be pulled out of your center by something else. You don't have to be pulled out by frustration. And what you get to keep alive, this is where I was going, is the discernment. You get to have discernment. And this is something that's really important, is that we can still discern. We don't have to shut down discernment for in order to just feel good about what we're looking at. And this is actually a really important thing, because a lot of people do this. They're like, well, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. So I'm ignoring, but I'm actually losing the ability to discern. So we can still notice this thing, we can still notice the way that this person's showing up without letting it elicit that emotional reaction within us, because that emotion of frustration is such a slippery slope. And this is something where, like, I'm consciously working on this, but I have this gut visceral reaction of frustration that I just can't seem to neutralize. Then this is something where the unconscious work is really valuable, because you can start to neutralize that at a deeper level, so you're not having that reaction. But it's our job, as we become more conscious, as we become more aware, to be the one that's in the driver's seat of how we respond to things, of how we look at things. And the reason that I really want to talk about this is both in this one group that I got invited to, that's supposed to be a spiritual group, and also this one spiritual mentor that I follow online. There's people getting frustrated with each other for how they are. And particularly this mentor, I was honestly really shocked at this response that he had. It was just like he shared some really difficult things, and there was this outpouring of people trying to help. And what he was saying is, this is unsolicited advice, which I totally get. But he experienced it in such a negative way, but made it all about them. And you could tell a lot of these people were actually just cared. It's like, it's one of the things that people do, right? Especially at a lower level of awareness, is just say, oh, like, you could do this, you should try this, you could try that. Now, from a perspective of the wheel of consent, maybe that's not the best thing to offer unsolicited advice, but we can feel from intention that comes from a place of care. But it's up to us to manage how we receive things. So if something's happening in a circumstance like that, and we're getting so upset with people, we're like, you should respond like this, and you shouldn't say this, and you're bad because you gave me unsolicited advice. We're the problem. We're the problem. Whenever we try to control our external reality, and we say people have to act this way and things should be like this, and if they're not like this, then I get upset because it's wrong, that's not that's not higher consciousness. That's the shadow frequency. That's binaries. That's right versus wrong. That's the injustice wound being activated. And that is just bringing in more darkness, more uncomfortability, more, yeah, just of that inner resistance that's going to manifest in more outer resistance. So we want to be really, really intentional of, like, yes, this person is responding maybe in a way that I can see a better way, but I'm gonna let myself get dragged into this different energy because of that. And I think that that's something that's really valuable as well. And this is something I'm constantly working on. It's one of the core values that I'm working on bodying more deeply, and a part of my brand as well, but is really separating people from their bad behaviors, air quote bad behaviors, separating people from their bad behaviors, so that we're not making people bad, but that we're addressing the behaviors. This is kind of some gentle parenting coming in here, but I think that it's really valuable for adults as well. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, watching the internet just tear apart Jojo Siwa, basically because of her try hard energy that people don't like. But I think it's interesting to watch, because I feel like we're in this season where we've seen past celebrities come out and talk about things, and it's just heartbreaking to hear their stories. If you've heard the behind the scenes account of what Britney Spears was going through when the world was tearing her apart, when she was sort of having her comeback, it's heartbreaking. Like, people literally listen to the audiobook and cry, because they were participating in the being mean, and then to hear what this human being with feelings and thoughts was going going through is heartbreaking. Same thing with Justin Bieber, and so now there's this thing with Jojo Siwa, and I get it. Like, I was in a similar world. I was in the dance world. I know what it feels like to have worthiness wrapped up in achievement, and to have that so praised, and to have just like going harder and going harder. So I think about this young girl that has her whole life been rewarded for pushing harder and trying harder, and now she's in the public eye in this way, and everyone's hating on her so hard, and she's handling it well in front of the scenes. But I mean, this is why a lot of child stars have some kind of mental breakdown, is because they just cannot hold um they cannot hold what comes at them when they transition into adulthood in the public eye. So I really feel like, as a society, this is really profound today. As a society, I want to see us work more on separating people from their behaviors and going, I don't hate this person. It's like, you're trying too hard. Like, this try hard behavior doesn't work for me, right? And not making that person bad, because when we internalize things like that, it's so heavy and it's so painful. And when you're at a level of awareness and a level of consciousness that you're not internalizing things, it's fine. But a lot of people aren't there, particularly, young people or adolescents or people that have a lot of trauma or vulnerability. They're internalizing everything. And what we're experiencing when someone's playing it off is not that they're actually okay. It's just that that's what the persona is doing. So I also talked about this in my masterclass yesterday. In Jungian psychology, you have the division of the shadow, the ego, and the persona. And so the persona is kind of what you see on the surface. The shadow is the hidden parts of ourselves. And the ego kind of works to resolve these parts. And so what's actually happening when you see someone brushing it off like this is that the persona is overcompensating for the pain in the shadows. The ego is experiencing all of this pain that it can't actually take, because it's not in alignment with how the ego sees itself. So it's like, I see myself this way. All of these people are hating me. I literally can't handle that. So we go repress, 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 fill up all these bags of garbage, put them in the shadow. They're not gone. They're just going to not they're going to cause all these invisible problems, and then the persona has to resolve and go, okay, well, all these people don't like this stuff is in the shadow. Now I need to overcompensate with the equal opposite, which is going to be um yeah, a different energy. So right now she's playing it off like it's a joke, but I don't think that that's true. I think that that is the persona compensation for all of this baggage that is building up in the shadow. And I can tell you with absolute freaking certainty, watching this play out, that she does not have the emotional resource to actually deal with and process this, which means that it's going to come out later in some kind of really painful way. So I didn't intend for this to be a breakdown of this, but here we are. I think we've got a couple of people in the waiting room. Josette, I see. Did you want to come on and chat today? Let me know. Just ask. I've realized that some people come into the studio and just want to listen. So that is fine too. If you're here watching me on socials, say hi and let me know. Astro designed them. Okay, I have to tell you, I'm so sorry, because I always see you, specifically you, Astro Design Dom. I didn't know how to check the Instagram comments when I'm doing these live streams to multiple platforms, and I realized that I always scroll over afterwards and see all these messages from you that I didn't respond. So I'm so sorry about that, and I just want to acknowledge that I love that you're here and engaging. And I see that you just said halfway done with yesterday's masterclass, vibing deeply with it. I'm so excited. It was such a fire masterclass. I'm so excited about it. This response has been amazing. So I'm so thrilled. And I'm glad that you brought this up, because I actually wanted to mention as well. Someone asked at the end why, because I talked about this a lot. I talked about like the personal development work kind of breaking and going backwards, and how that was one of the motivators to change some of the ways that I was doing things. And then in the masterclass, I outlined like 4 behavioral and mindset shifts that I specifically made that changed the way that was happening for me. Um, Anyways, someone asked at the end, why do I think the work breaks and goes backwards? And I did give a really good answer in the masterclass, but I actually want to elaborate on that because I thought more about it afterwards. And the other piece to this, the real honest truth is that I think a, a lot of the work that breaks, let's call it, is work where we are lying to ourselves, where we're choosing positive thoughts, where we're telling ourselves, a better feeling thought, or just lying, and we're kind of not fully dealing with what's there. And I think the work that really works is when we acknowledge the truth, when we acknowledge the dark stuff, the truth, whatever's actually there, whenever we take however much time it actually takes to deal with something and move through it and process it and integrate it. I really believe the way that my work has evolved, and I've seen, I've had all these different experiences working with clients one-on-one and in groups, and I've obviously had all these trainings as well. And I deeply, deeply believe that the most important component is integration. And we can only integrate what we acknowledge. So it's like if I um I'm going to use this example because it came up in the masterclass yesterday. So something that I used to hate is that my mom and different people would call me like a diva and a prima donna when I was younger, and I hated it, and I resisted that so much. And I guess that, one of the shadow things I think that they were sort of getting at there is like this selfishness. Um, and I just hated all of that. I hated being called that. I felt like it was such a negative thing. And so I pushed it away, and I pushed it away, pushed it away. And I said, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. But when we push something away, we can't deal with it, and we can't change it. And it's limiting us invisibly from the shadows. It's unconsciously controlling us because we are not looking at it. But once I acknowledged that I was there and it claimed, like, I am a diva. Like, I have this diva energy. It's part of who I am. I don't even care. I love it. I love that about me. And it was funny because even in the masterclass, people were like, I love that about you too. I'm like, I know, it's one of my best qualities. It's part of who I am. But once I bring that into the light, it's like, okay, there's this thing, and there's this little piece that's stuck to it that's selfishness. And it's like, oh, actually, that actually isn't part of me. And that isn't who I am. And I actually was very easy to neutralize that and change that. But I could not deal with that one part that I didn't want, which was the selfishness, with that being in the shadow. As long as it's in the shadow, it's invisible, it's controlling me, it's puppet strings, right? But once I acknowledge it, once I acknowledge the truth and acknowledge what is, you can change anything about yourself because you've brought it into the light, and you can deal with it. You can deal with it. So I think a lot of the times we go about doing this work in, um I'm saying surfacey, but I don't mean just on the surface. I do mean to some depth, but not all the way. It's like we don't want to face the worst things. We kind of just want to avoid them so that we can feel better really quickly. And I think that's the work that really breaks, particularly when you're on a um I don't know what to call this, when you're on an accelerated growth curve, right? When you're really leaning into the energy of excellence, you are going to bump up against so many things again and again and again and again because you're facing new challenges, you're living on this uncomfortable edge, you're pushing into growth. So you're going to keep triggering things that are within you. This is why personal development and high level sex I can't believe I just said that. High level success. This is why personal development and high level success go hand in hand, is because when you push that leading edge of success and possibility, you constantly bump up against the things inside yourself. And if you don't have the resources or the skills, or you're not creating the framework to deal with all of those things as they come through, then you're just going to keep getting triggered and go off into these destructive cycles. And that's why a lot of us go through this loop of just staying in the same place again and again and again and again and again and again and again. It's because we're not actually we don't actually have the I'll call it the resources and the systems in place to navigate these difficult things when they come up. So we have a season of this is really great, and then we have a season of now I'm kind of a mess, or now I'm in a burnout, or now I'm in a healing, or now I'm in this thing, and so as we build those structures and that resource, we're able to hold these really difficult seasons and be solid throughout them. So those of you that are here in the studio, let me know if you want to come up and I will bring you up. I know there's a couple people here. So just let me know in the chat if you want to come up, and I'll bring you up for if you can ask a question or if you just have something you want to share or chat. I'm happy for that. And so this being really solid in the face of contrast, this is a big part of what the authenticity codes is about. So it's a 3-part sequence, paid offer with me, which is launching number 2 today. So there's a pre-sale on right now and you can grab that. The link will be in my bio. If you were in the masterclass, you'll have had that sent out. But part 2 is all about really training yourself to experience contrast as a deepening into the embodiment of who you are and to actually leverage difficult situations to be more in your power and more embodied in who you are. And this is actually something that I really want to change about the narrative in the personal development industry, because there's such an emphasis on like cutting people out and only being around people that are successful and high frequency. And there's definitely a tremendous value to that. We mold to the people that we're around. So having a really successful, having a really amazing inner circle is really important. But I think that there's this piece that comes about where people start going, well, I can only be my best self when the environment facilitates it. Like if I can't be my best self when I'm around my worst family members, or if I can't be my best self when I'm getting criticized, or if I can't be my best self when I'm in, just some environment that's not really my environment, then my best self isn't that integrated. And so I think a lot of people go about trying to evolve by just putting themselves in cutting out every environment that doesn't support that. But that's not really growth, and that's again why you're not going to be able to push into this edge of excellence, because if you can't hold that in an environment that doesn't support it, then you're not going to be able to hold the challenges that come up. So what I really want, and this specifically Authenticity Codes Part 2, Authentic Power Principles, is about using contrast and situations that feel like like conflict, to deepen your embodiment of who you are, to deepen your power in yourself. These are codes that I've used in my own life, and I've obviously taught them to clients as well, that have been so freaking transformational. Honestly, when I started putting together this sequence of teachings, I didn't actually expect it to change my life as much as it has. It's been freaking phenomenal. So if you're curious about that and you want to taste, you can sign up for the Who You Be Masterclass, which is going to be free. It was supposed to expire tomorrow, but I feel like it's not enough time. So I think I'm going to make it free through Monday, and then that will be a part of Authenticity Codes Part 2. So yeah, I think when our work breaks is the test of how well our work is working. This is something I've been on about lately, is like, how well is your work working? Like, do you actually have the growth? Can you actually handle these contrasting situations? Hey, buddy. um, and that really tells us, where does more work need to be done? And a lot of us go into this place where we feel guilt and shame where our work breaks. And I know that was me. Especially when I started doing more really serious healing and I was like experiencing this better version of myself. I was like, yes, oh my goodness, I'm so healed. I'm amazing. I'm so conscious. I'm enjoying who I am so much more. And then it would be around, my most triggering family members, or I'd be in really difficult situations and it would break and I would have this kind of old self reemergence and get triggered. And then it would go into this shame spiral. Be, I'm bad. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing well. And then that would initiate this cycle of kind of going backwards before it would just sort of neutralize and I could move forward again. So that is what Authenticity Codes Part 1, letting go of who you were, is all about. It's about breaking that guilt and shame cycle so you don't go backwards anymore. It's literal how to not do that anymore if that's something that you're struggling with. And one of my beautiful clients who's very evolved and very conscious. She does like really high level executive coaching, shared with me that using the tools in that has helped her not go backwards so much, which I always feel like is such a freaking win. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I love it when the work is working like that. It makes me so happy. So I feel like that's all that I had to talk about today. Definitely jump into the Who You Be Masterclass. It's free right now if you haven't already. If any of you that are here, I see Josette and Jay are in the studio, just let me know, or you can even just come on camera and I will bring you up. If anyone that's watching has anything you want to comment, you can comment. But otherwise, I'm going to wrap up here. Oh, and if you are watching, please let me know. And if you caught the replay, let me know that as well down below in the comments. It really helps with the algorithm and the video getting shared. And yeah, you guys, I have been go, 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 go. I was in Kelowna last week with some of my amazing, amazing friends from Elite Media Company. And we created some content for, particularly for my upcoming mastermind, which is launching soon, that I am so excited to share. Like, I can't even, it's a whole other level. I'm so excited to share it. But yeah, there's that. And then we had the free masterclass and I've been traveling. And so I'm pretty pooped. So I'm probably going to chill out for the rest of the day here. But I am sending you all so much love. Have a fabulous evening. Have a fabulous weekend. Let me know if you enjoyed the Who You Be Masterclass. Sending you so much love.